This is the Drunken Fist Podcast, and I'm your host, Justin Plavitt. And it's my fucking birthday! And I'm here with my host, David Bodo. This podcast is made possible by the fans of the show. For more information, visit drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. That's P-O-D.
Yes. Fans is spelled P-O-D.
Fans, I apologize. It's my birthday. I'm already drunk.
Happy birthday, Justin. Woo! How old are you? 12?
21.
21. Oh, shit. I think that means every other episode we might have been in trouble.
Possibility. No, I'm not 21. I'm 31.
No. Oh, Jesus. You're like, what? You are technically what? One of those millennial people?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I see myself as a 90s. Oh, I was born 88.
Oh, yeah. You're totally a fucking millennial.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the 90s. I don't give a shit. I love the 90s. I live in the 90s.
Yeah. That's why.
That was the best cartoons and TV shows ever created.
See, you're wrong.
I'm not.
All right. So, like, what kind
Everything
of cartoons?
After? Okay. Okay, so we're thinking 90s here. There's Ninja Turtles. There's the X-Men cartoon. There's Batman, the animated series. There's Batman Beyond. There's Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, fuck you. Cyber 9, I think it was what it was called. It's fucking awesome. There were Zoids. Shit. The original Transformers. There's so many good shit. Yeah, Animorphs, The Secret World of Alex Mack. Come on, I can go on all day.
You're adorable. Well, I'm glad you liked the time that. I mean, it's just, for those of us who are old.
And for those of you that are in the 90s, you're thinking like, holy shit, I remember that. And that's not even counting Disney stuff like Halloween Town.
I have no idea what the fuck that is.
By the way, tomorrow's Halloween.
Yeah, tomorrow is Halloween. Not related, but related. It's not related to Halloween at all. I do want to say what beer I'm drinking in honor of your birthday, Justin. I decided to pick up the Guinness 200th anniversary export stout, and I wanted I really don't want to drink Guinness, but
you got a Guinness for me?
Yeah, I am drinking Guinness in your honor because it is your birthday. You do what?
I'm not even drinking a Guinness.
Well, I mean, you drink Guinness all the damn time, so
it's true. There's at least like 4 or 5 episodes where I'm just drinking a Guinness.
Oh man, and this isn't just a regular Guinness. It's the 200th anniversary export stout. So it's a beer that's celebrating its own thing, and I'm drinking it to celebrate your own thing. So I'm going to take a drink now. Let's see, 6% alcohol. So it's kind of like a middle of the road kind of deal.
Yeah, it's not
What
bad.
are you drinking?
I'm drinking Alaskan Brewing Company. The beer is just called White. I believe it's just a white ale. It's probably got some spices in it. It is a 5.3% alcohol, so not too bad. I'm going to take a sip and actually tell you what it tastes like.
All right,
Hopefully not like the last episode one, because that one was...
I'm going to tell you that I can say that I'm not a fan of this Guinness. Now, normally, the regular Guinness, I don't care for too much because it's not watery. I don't really know how to describe it. I mean, it has a stout flavor, but it's just mouthfeel-wise. It feels watery, but not this one. Oh, excuse me. This one, it has a bit of malt in it, and I like the maltiness of it. I am kind of a sucker for malt, but a couple episodes ago, we were talking about how Heineken can have like a skunky taste, and this, for some fucked up reason, has a skunky taste to it. It's kind of light, and I really don't think that it was meant to be like that. And if it didn't have the skunkiness, I would like it, because there's like, it's malty. It's somewhat smooth. It has a better mouthfeel than the regular Guinness. It actually feels like there's something in my mouth other than water. And there's like even some hints of sweet chocolate to it. But fuck, man, the son of a bitch has like a skunky, like it's very slight, but it's enough just to make it off. And it pisses me off because, yeah, there's enough malty flavor to it and a good mouthfeel that this should be good. Damn it. Tell me about your beer, bud.
I think your hatred for Guinness is just overshadowing it. Let's see. I have a...
I don't think so, but...
Wait, hold on. Deja vu. Oh, no, I took a sip. We're good. It tastes like a Blue Moon wasn't shitty.
Okay.
So it's a white beer, but it's not Belgian-style wheat or anything like that.
Is it a white ale or
yes, it's a white ale.
Okay.
I said that already. Deja vu, what the fuck?
You said it was a white, but you didn't say it was an ale.
I said white ale.
Well, when I go into the show notes, I'm going to listen.
You're going to edit out ale so that you could be right.
You were so fucking right, because I was really going to do that.
I know you were, because I know I fucking said ale. Anyway, no, it's fucking delicious. It's probably one of the better... well, it's not a Belgian, so I can't say that. I would say it's probably one of the better ales I've ever had in my life. I've never had it
really
before. Yeah, it's actually a really cool looking can too. It's got the Alaskan Aurora Borealis on the background.
Okay.
It's a full black can, and it's got a fucking polar bear just out there in your face.
Those are usually the best ones.
I'm not 100%, but I think it was made in Alaska.
Oh, weird. Really?
Yeah, It's just a guess.
Weird. That's kind of an interesting guess.
Actually, it was made in Juneau, Alaska.
Oh shit, Juneau! Whoop whoop.
Nice. I didn't know Juneau even had any brewing companies.
I thought Juneau was a movie.
Oh, God damn it, David! You need to go back and edit that out.
Oh, trust me, it's already gone. So did you check into Untapped with this beer, so that way everybody who is friends with us on Untapped can check it out?
Yeah, usually what I'll do is when I buy the 6-pack for the show, I'll just untap them all right away on the same day, and then save them for the podcast. I'm thinking
the more that I drink this, it isn't. Is there that taste that I'm experiencing is not a skunked flavor? There's just something about it that is just not sitting well with me. But the good news is the more that I drink it, I kind of get over it. And yeah, so by the time I finish this, I'll probably be like, oh, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. But apparently this 200th anniversary is celebrating 200 years in America. And since we're here in America and you're born in America, Justin, happy birthday.
I was born in America. That's true.
Good.
At least so they tell me.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take another sip. What the fuck are we talking about today besides your birthday?
Besides my birthday, and since it's my birthday, I actually chose this one. And my thing is self-defense. So I'm going to be talking about self-defense weapons that could potentially save your life. What you can carry that you can whip out quickly and effectively.
Okay. Because I was going to say I would assume most self-defense weapons could save your life. So
yeah, there's a lot of garbage they make too, though.
Give me an example. What kind of garbage self-defense weapon is there?
Tasers.
How is that garbage?
Garbage.
How? Tell
me. If it's not the law enforcement ones that have the probes, and it's just one of the ones that you touch on the skin. Yeah. Those are effective. But if it's just a taser, not a taser gun, a taser, it just hurts touching the skin. It doesn't make the person convulse or anything. They just go, ow.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've not seen any. Well, I have seen a couple civilian style ones that it does have some convulsion effects to it. The disadvantage, though, much like what you said, is the the open probes or whatever need to touch open skin. So if there's not a place for you to put the taser or electric stimulation device on an attacker or an opponent that does not have open skin, it pretty much doesn't do shit.
Right. And it's not like in the movies. You don't tase someone in the neck and they're going to pass out. It just is very uncomfortable.
Well, it's even dangerous because if you do tase somebody in the neck, and they could potentially have all kinds of different problems going on, even if they are, quote, the bad guy, you could potentially kill them if you tase somebody in the neck. Especially, I have a taser that, let's just say, is quite potent. It is technically legal. However, it's one of those that kind of is questionable. But anyway, if I were to tase somebody in the neck with that, yeah, there's a chance that they could die. And if you ever are in a situation with something like a taser and the person does pass away, you could be in a lot of legal problems, even if the other person was the aggressor.
That's any self-defense weapon, though. And we'll get into that.
Possibly.
But that's any self-defense weapon.
All right. Before we get into the weapons, which I know you're super excited for, I would like... Yeah, it is your birthday, which is like why I want to talk about this next thing really quick.
All right.
And while it's not a present for you, it could be considered a present for our listeners. Listeners, Justin and I have been talking for quite some time, and we've even kind of hinted about the idea because we've been kind of tossing it around. But Justin and I have decided to put on a seminar coming up in the probably June of 2020. And right now, as you know, this is the birthday episode. So this is October 30th of 2019. So we are going to be putting on a seminar in Bowling Green, Ohio, sometime in June. Now, we've not finalized the date, and we probably won't have all of the firm details until January 2020. But I wanted to go ahead and announce right now for all of our listeners the seminar coming up that Justin and I got together, and we decided that it would be a really awesome thing that we could do to give to our listeners, and to do a seminar about that. So I just wanted to announce that. Do you have anything to add to that? Because I know you really want to get to the weapons. So,
no, I mean, that's pretty clear. If it's in Bowling Green, there's a possibility that it'll be at the Bushido Kai Dojo. Possibility.
And by possibility, the likelihood is very high.
The likelihood is very high. I still need to talk about it to Sensei Liberkid, though.
But if not, then maybe we'll have it here in Columbus. But we will definitely let you know. Like I said, more details will be available in January of 2020. And until then, if you have any questions about it or interest or whatever, be sure to shoot us a message. Do us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's Drunken Fist Pod at Drunken Fist Pod at Drunken Fist Pod, or shoot us an email at fans@drunkenfistpodcast.com, or go to the website for more information. And those who are part of our super fans, which is known as the Drunken fans, you already know about this, and your discount information will be on its way soon. But without any further ado, Justin, let's talk about some self-defense weapons.
Yay! All right. So this is kind of my thing. It's what I specialize in. I do self-defense weapons retention. Now, everything I'm going to talk about today,
or for attention?
Retention.
All right, go ahead.
Right. So a lot of people teach self-defense, like knife defense. I usually teach knife offense. So how to hold on to your weapon.
Okay.
Because even if you are amazing at somehow disarming somebody, you have to learn how to keep it. Just easily just go right back to the person.
Right.
But everything I'm going to talk about today is going to be everything but the exception of a firearm. So I'm not talking about firearms. So firearm people out there, you keep doing your thing. I will. Trust me, I'm all about it. I'm talking about simple things that anybody can walk around with that would probably have less of a jail sentence.
Right on.
Because when I talk about self-defense, remember, the main idea of self-defense is you can't get away or your life is threatened. It's not a fight. If you are in a fight and you start whipping out weapons, both of you are liable. And if you whip out a weapon and they don't have a weapon, no matter how big the person is, you're going to reap those consequences.
Right.
So I'm not including the firearm because that's already a hot topic in other places, and it'll probably come back up in the future.
Yeah, probably.
And just FYI, I love firearms. I don't really care. But for people like me who don't carry a firearm, I want to. I just am poor and can't afford it. There are a couple cool little tools that you can have on you at all times. And all of these are useless unless you know how to deploy them and how to deploy them in a moment's notice, because self-defense only happens in a blink of an eye. It's not somebody that's going to walk up to you and be like, hey, yo, you want to fight? That's then a fight. That's not self-defense.
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
Come on, bro. Bring it on.
All right.
But in a self-defense situation, if something happens that your life is threatening, you need to make it out alive. And regardless of that situation, what happens, if you are happy that you are alive, whatever happens in the end, good for you.
Right.
But I do recommend talking to either law enforcement or a lawyer about your state or your cities or even your fucking towns laws on self-defense, because everyone has something different. Yep. So don't just base it off of what I'm saying.
Yeah, definitely. And I apologize for interrupting Justin. I do recommend talking to a lawyer while a law enforcement officer or representative does understand some of the laws. They are not necessarily.
Their job is to enforce it.
Their job is to enforce it. And at the same time, there are certain intricacies about the laws that even they don't know. So I personally recommend to talk with a lawyer specifically, especially a lawyer that deals with self-defense or criminal charges with regards to weapon possession and things of that nature. And it might seem like if you're listening to this, well, you are listening to this, but listening to this podcast, you're like, talk to a lawyer. Oh, that's a bunch of work that doesn't make sense, or that's a lot of extra stuff. Dude, seriously, take the time, talk to a lawyer, because if you are thinking about carrying any sort of thing that could be considered a weapon, or is
especially the shit I'm going to tell you today.
Yeah. Or is considered a weapon. I mean, that's something that could be, or is, especially those that happen to be considered a weapon in your state or even your town or district or whatever. It is very important to know the ins and outs. And I'm sure that I'll probably jump in 1,000 times talking about some of the things that Justin might talk about. So, all right, Justin, it's yours again. Go ahead.
No, yeah, right on. Also keep in mind too, like talking to a lawyer is probably better too, because if you talk to an officer, remember, an officer, you're getting arrested regardless if you followed the law to the T.
Yeah.
I mean, you are going to wait in a jail cell until your court trial, and you may be innocent, you may be guilty, but regardless, the officer's job is to take away everybody in the process, and including your weapon. Now, keep in mind, too, if anything does happen, regardless of the situation, regardless of the weapon you used, it's going to be shown in court. And when they show it in court, they're going to make it their job to make it look as scary as possible. Right. So keep that in mind. So even if it's the simplest, tiniest little fucking pencil, they'll make it look like it is the scariest thing in the world, and it will turn the jury's mind.
It is a full assault tactical strike pencil.
Right. And I mean, that's their job as the defense, as to make sure that shows the jury, because, you know, the state always wants to win.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep that in mind. But today I'm just going to talk about what I carry, and I'm going to do one at a time. And then David's also going to talk about what he might carry.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll say the pros and cons of everything. Just a reminder, when you carry any weapon, you need to be practicing on a daily basis on pulling it out, keeping it in the same spot. And for a self-defense weapon to be a self-defense weapon, it needs to be able to deploy in a matter of milliseconds, not even seconds. Seconds is too long. So that's also why I don't like a taser. You have to take it out, turn it on, and then press the button. By that time, you're probably already being in a bear hug by a man named Billy Bob.
You know, I really am tempted to bring some of my tasers to the seminar just to be like, all right, so Justin has this thought. Here are my thoughts. Bam.
Right. And you know what? Here's another thing, too. And I mean, this is why we're doing this. That's why I'm going to be asking David his stuff. I may not like a taser. It's not for me. Right. I don't see the effectiveness of it, but he does. It's for him. He could use it effectively. So remember, all of these weapons, anything that you choose, and we are both giving you variety. It's so that you can decide what is right for you. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to say taser's bullshit, but honestly, at the end of the day, it might be for you.
Right.
I'm going to go with my first guy here. It's what I carry every day, and we're not sponsored by these people. I wish we were.
But if anybody from these companies or whoever would like to sponsor us, go ahead and shoot us a message. Yeah, our contact form is on our website. So anyway, go ahead, Justin.
We won't be upset about it.
Not at all.
Every episode we do from now on, I will mention you if you sponsor us.
Yes, we will figure out a way to weave it in.
Oh, no doubt.
I'm drinking a beer and I'm carrying this fucking knife by this company.
It's going to be the same shit every time.
Yep.
Anyway, unless you send me a different knife, that'll be cool too.
I'm carrying by this other fucking company. Just send us knives.
Yeah. Oh my God. I will orgasm for days if you just send me free knives.
Okay.
Anyway,
moving on.
It's my birthday. Shut up.
It is birthday, and I'm drinking this Guinness.
That's good. And you need to drink that Guinness because you're not a bitch.
I am drinking a Guinness.
You're right. You are a bitch.
Yeah. Anyhow.
That's been the theme for the past few episodes. Yep. Sorry.
And I'm a bitch with a taser. Go ahead, man. Come on.
God, I will fuck you up if you're holding a taser. Anyway.
I really want to do this now. We should do this at the fucking seminar.
I can't. I have heart conditions. Actually, you know what? I'm not even scared. Let's do it.
It's not about being
scared. I doubt you'll even touch me.
Shit. Now now you just fucked me up because like if anything were to happen, I would feel horrible. Damn it. And I wouldn't have a fucking podcast host, but damn it.
You'll find someone else.
Yeah, I know, but still, I'd feel bad.
Anyway. God, did I just get my medical shit on the air? All right, whatever. I don't care. Moving on. Anyway, the first weapon that I carry on a daily basis, except in my school, it stays in my car. I don't want anyone to think that, like, hey, you're a teacher. You're not supposed to be having it in your pocket. I don't. And I'm going to talk about what I carry in school in a little bit. But on a daily basis where I'm not teaching in a school, I carry the Fox Karambit, which a karambit on its own is fucking crazy. And people always complain like, no, you need to do Filipino martial arts. It's a lot. No, you fucking don't. The way that this blade is designed is once it touches flesh, it is going to tear through shit.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. It is going to puncture and tear the muscles. You don't have to be good at it.
Yep.
And honestly, I find that knife fighters that are actually pretty decent are the ones that don't know shit about knife fighting. And it's because they're unpredictable.
Say that again? What? Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get and I appreciate the unpredictability, but how the hell are they good?
Okay. Maybe good's an understatement. Maybe just tricky to follow.
Okay. All right.
I have noticed that people who have not been trained in something tend to be a little sporadic.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, they are.
So there's that. But this thing is probably one of my favorite designs. It is so sleek. It is not a deep carry in the pocket, so you can get away with saying that you are open carrying the knife because it is showing. It has a finger ring that you can just poke your index finger in and pull this out of your pocket. It has an Emerson wave design. For those of you that don't know that, it is a notch cut into the knife to where that it'll snag on any material that it touches, which that's what opens and deploys the knife. So on one pull of the knife, it is open and ready to go. Instead of taking, and I just got into an argument with my one buddy. He swore that he can take out his knife faster than me. And I said, okay, let's try.
Right.
He had an amazing knife, CKRT, but he's wearing it incorrectly. And I keep telling him that because he could easily deploy it the same way as I do, but he chooses to take it out of his pocket and then flick it open. By the time he took it out of his pocket, before he could flick it open, I'm already right there with my knife deployed. And then he flicks it open and tries to be an ass. And he's like, see, it's fine because you're all the way over there. And I'm like, dude, I'm not advancing towards you. Let's try it again.
You just slit your
this
fucking
time,
throat, bitch.
And that's exactly what happened. Like,
yes.
As I'm pulling it out of my pocket, I'm going right for the throat.
Yeah.
And my other hand is there covering his hand to his pocket. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, see, before you can even take it out, I'm already here.
Fuck yeah.
So that's why I really enjoy this knife. Any knife can actually be modified. If you have, I don't know what the device, I don't know. It's not a belt grinder. Any saw that can cut metal. If you just make your own little notch and make it into more of a scoop than just a straight cut in, you can use it as a wave.
We'll have to
knives that have.
We'll have to get some photos for the show notes so that way people can better visualize this. Because even though you showed me that knife, didn't you? The knife you're talking about?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So
I brought it on Ohio on purpose because you said they were illegal. So I'm like, oh, I'm definitely bringing it.
Anyhow, yeah, so I thought so. But even as you're describing it, and like I remember you pulling it out and it just like opens right the hell up. Even I'm having a hard time like remembering how the notch thing works. So maybe we'll throw some photos up for the show notes and that so people can get a better understanding of what you're talking about, especially when you're talking about modifying the knife.
I can even do like a quick video of it coming out of my pocket or something.
That would be awesome.
So there is that. And then any knife that has a hole in it for your, like not instead of a thumb stud, it has a hole where you can put your thumb in and open the knife. Put a fucking zip tie there. And I can show you a picture of that too. If you put a zip tie, it'll act the same way as the Wave Emerson.
Really?
And all you have to do is rub it up against any type of clothing and it opens right up. Huh. I have a Swiss Army knife right now. It's an old Sentinel. It's just a single blade that has a hole in it. I put a zip tie in it, and any direction you put it in, as long as you pull it out the correct way, it deploys the knife.
Definitely
instead of having to take it out, flick it open.
Definitely want to have some video on that. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Just remind me. I'll do all of these.
Bet you will.
But the karambit is fascinating. I can't believe this knife. So I've always been a straight knife person. I've always been like a boot knife guy where it has to be a fixed blade because I'm always scared that locking blades that switch open are too fragile, which might be true with some of the knives. But the folding karambit has such an advantage. Like I can just stick this in my pocket in the same spot every time. I'm right-handed. I move the clip for right side. And the only thing that I'm still practicing with is reverse grip for that, because I pull it out in reverse grip, which you're supposed to kind of do with a karambit, right, is what I'm told. Yeah. And I'm definitely more of a forward grip knife fighter. So I am getting used to that. I don't feel like I can pull it out comfortably in a forward grip. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's just super quick with a reverse, but I'm getting used to it and I can see its effectiveness in a reverse grip. And again, I'm no C-lot fighter. I'm no Filipino martial artist, but in my opinion, I don't think the karambit needs a lot of skill. I think you just need to wave this around, and as soon as it touches skin, it's going right through.
Well, the nice thing about the karambit is the way that it's shaped. The point is almost always available to be in contact with something. And by something,
Right.
like if we're talking about it in a self-defense situation, we're talking about your opponent or not necessarily opponent, but the attacker or whatever, or the person that you would need to defend yourself against. The point is right there. So you can do a puncture, you can puncture and tear it. It is definitely a cutting knife. And the thing that I like about the karambit is I don't want to encourage people to use it just to use it and people to, pick it up without training. With that said,
Well, they make training karambits. I recommend that before you go on.
I recommend training in any weapon that you might think about using ever at any time. And even you recommended it just so that way you have the ability to not only deploy it, but to have it in your possession. So if you ever need to use it, you know how to use it, and it's not a surprise.
Oh, don't ever use a weapon you don't know how to use. It could just be as easily used against you. You're only worsening your odds.
The thing with the karambit is that because of the way that it's shaped, it is definitely a slicer. It's a penetrator. And it is one of those type of weapons that if you do use it, the person is going to be in a bad way to go because it is going to open up whatever the hell it touches. I mean, if you
disgusting weapon.
If you decide to use it,
like I said,
if you decide just to pierce somebody with it, because of its curved blade, the way that it goes into the body, it just opens up. The wound just opens right up. And then if you even decide to do a slight moving action with it in the direction of the cutting edge, the whatever it's in will just open right up. And there are a lot of videos of, you can find these on YouTube of videos of people who are doing tests with their karambits in pig carcasses, just hunks of meat.
It's such a clean knife cut.
It is very, very effective. And so if you ever decide to use a karambit, just know that if you ever have to deploy it and use it, the other person will be messed up, especially if you use it in certain parts of the body. But even if they are in non-vital parts, they're going to be opened up. It's a pretty nasty weapon to use, which is also cool and fun.
Well, I mean, you're going to jail. Mm-hmm. Keep in mind, anytime you're in a self-defense situation, it doesn't matter if you're in the right or the wrong. It really just depends on the jury. That's the system we live in. And it just also depends on that law that you're in. The thing
to keep in mind, too, is that in the United States, while guns and firearms happen to be a hot topic, and, you can be on whatever side you want to be, whether you're pro or against or somewhere in between, that is what it is. If you happen to use a knife in a self-defense situation, it almost always is considered worse than if you would have used a firearm, which is like one of the most hardest things to get your head around. I have a hard time understanding.
No, in most cases.
Yeah,
I
have a hard time even understanding this, especially in the climate that we live in now in the United States, where guns are hyper demonized because of all of the horrible things that are happening using guns. In the courts, anytime that somebody uses a knife, it is psychologically more disturbing to use a knife, and therefore it is considered a greater threat. Because when you use a knife and when you deploy it psychologically, you are closer to the victim. And I say victim.
It's a personal weapon.
It's very intimate.
You are right up
It's
close.
A very intimate weapon.
You are looking in the person's eyes when this is sinking.
And whereas like with a gun, you can be several feet away, if not, a couple meters away, and do something. And the psychological repercussion behind that is a bit different than if you are holding a knife and you are close enough to put it into the flesh of somebody else. And that's the way that the courts look at it, especially the jury. The jury will look at it is, why do you have the knife? And, and for those of us in self-defense, the idea is very clear. Well, I'm using it for self-defense. I mean, even if you carry a knife just for utility purposes, however you find yourself in a self-defense situation and you feel threatened to the point that you need to deploy your knife, even if it is just a utility knife, a knife used for utility purposes, that is, if you have to deploy that, the jury will consider that, and the people against you will demonize it as, you must have something going on with you that you need to take out this kind of weapon and to do whatever the hell you did to that person, even if it was just a short, superficial cut. It's like, you are that close. You are very intimate with it. So this is very important to keep in mind.
Right. I mean, if you are deploying something like this, remember, your life is threatened. Somebody has said they are going to kill you.
Or their actions have said that.
Or their actions. So their hands are around your throat, their arm is around your throat in a rear naked choke or something. If your life is on the line, you have to do what you need to do. But that is the only case for self-defense if you are going to go lethal force. And remember, if you use a knife, you can do other things besides the lethal target. You can go after muscles and limbs. They'll never use that muscle and limb again, but they're alive.
Yeah.
So you won't have that hanging over your head in court. There are other things you can do. What
Justin just said is very important, because if you are trained properly, and that's kind of a redundant statement, because training would assume proper. However,
a redundant statement? No.
Shut the fuck up. The thing is that as a martial artist, and as a person who studies self-defense, it is important for you to know where you could and or should strike in certain situations. Of course, if you're being attacked, you might not have the luxury of deciding to go for a less lethal place on your attacker than, say, a lethal place. And in which...
And that comes with training. Make sure you train.
It does. And at the same time, you can train as much as you need to, but real life is going to present itself to where you might not be prepared for that situation, and you just have to act.
Oh, and I know for me, for a fact, if something happened like that to me, I know that I'm probably going to end up going for that lethal and, screwing myself. But that is my faults that I'm working on.
Right.
So people need to be aware of that. So yes, I'm very trigger happy with a knife.
Note to self, throw the taser at him first.
Try to.
All right.
If you got the prongs, that's your best bet.
Well, I think I'm going to have to figure out how I can do that.
There's a lot of ones that double it up. Like, you can, once the prongs are done, you still at least have the taser for handheld.
Well, hey, whatever. Hey, moving on.
Anyway, that is my first bet. And I know I represented the Fox Karambit. Anything by Fox is fucking amazing. But
Fox, if you're listening,
it's a very expensive
Justin
knife.
Would very much appreciate any sort of contributions you may have for him to demonstrate and or talk about on the podcast in the future.
Oh, if I could quit my job and just do YouTube videos of testing Fox knives on ham hocks or something like that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could quit your job and you could do those videos. It doesn't mean that you would be self-sustaining, but
no, exactly. But okay. But I'm actually kind of thinking we need to email Fox. But anyway,
sure. Whatever.
Besides the Fox knife, just remember, I mentioned there are ways to modify your knife. Any knife that you can deploy in one pool is a great self-defense knife. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to let David, while I drink, tell you about one of his favorite that's not a taser.
Yeah, it is not a taser. And this is going to kind of go counter to what Justin was talking about. One of my favorite almost everyday carries happens to be a trainer balisong also known as a trainer butterfly knife. And when I say trainer, I mean that the blade itself is not sharpened, nor does it have the ability to be sharpened. And they make these so that you can practice deploying and doing tricks if you're into tricks and all this kind of stuff. They make these trainers so that way you can do this.
I got one right here.
You can use it without getting cut. So that way, when you do happen to use a true balisong or butterfly knife that is sharpened, you have the ability, you already know how to use it, and it lessens the likelihood to, cut yourself or stab, especially if you do the flipping tricks and all that jazz, like my son does. My son is a beast with these, and I can talk about that in a little bit, but I personally love carrying the trainer with me. And, some may question the whole, why not just carry a regular butterfly knife? And
well, because it's illegal in most states.
Well, it's not illegal in Ohio as long as it's open carry. And I'm glad you had to go and open your mouth because I thought you were drinking. But in Ohio, there are several designations of what's considered a deadly weapon, especially when it deals with knives. And one of the designations is if you can open the knife or deploy the knife with one hand, it is considered a deadly weapon. Well, the balisong or butterfly knife can be deployed with one hand, and therefore it is considered a deadly weapon. And you can own it. You can legally own a balisong butterfly knife in Ohio as long as it's an open carry. That means it's carried on the outside of your body, so anybody who looks at you can see, oh, hey, he has a deadly weapon. Another designation of a deadly weapon that makes it illegal to conceal carry is the fact that when a movable blade knife is open, if that movable blade knife the blade itself is made to no longer move. For example, like locking blades where they may have a piece of steel that runs down the ridge of where the blade came out of, and you use your thumb.
Liner lockers.
Say again?
Liner lockers?
Maybe.
Probably. I'm kind of the knife
well,
expert.
that's good because I am not. However, I am very well versed in Ohio law with regards to open carry and concealed carry with deadly weapons. But
that's so funny because when I lived in Ohio, I always had a fucking illegal knife on me, and now I know. I wish I would have met you earlier. You would have told me, hey, you're carrying illegally.
The messed up thing is that there are a lot of people who carry pocket knives, and a lot of pocket knives are made in a way that make them technically illegal to carry in Ohio concealed. And many people carry them concealed. They're usually in their front pocket with that little clip that hangs out the side of the pocket. So, I mean, if you look at somebody, you can see, oh, they have a pocket knife of some sort, or, a knife, but usually it's a pocket knife. And the thing is, if they can open it up with one hand, it's illegal because you're a concealed carry. It's now it's a deadly weapon. So if you're concealed carry, illegal. If the movable blade is somehow locked into place and you need to physically not disarm, but like to move something to close the blade, it is now considered a deadly weapon. I can't tell you how many pocket knives have that kind of locking mechanism, either like this piece of steel that runs in the channel that you need to move over with your thumb and then fold the blade down. That locking mechanism makes it a deadly weapon in Ohio. And if you carry it in your pocket, it is technically a concealed carry of a deadly weapon, which is illegal. So even like with this trainer balisong, because it's a trainer, it is not a knife, therefore it's not illegal. But if it was a true balisong, when it is in the open position, the blade is now rigid. You have to manipulate the handles to make it fold up, which makes, if this were to be a true blade, a deadly weapon. What there's something else, and I'm really blanking on it now because I really want to talk about why I carry a trainer as opposed to a real one.
Minus the fact that you will get in less trouble, probably.
Yeah,
and it makes a great Kubaton.
Yeah, well, there you go. Thanks for blowing it. But like the big thing is that I don't carry blades on me because part of it is that, or I care about my legal status. That because in Ohio, there are a lot of blades that if I were to carry concealed, it technically is illegal. And even like what I was expressing before about the psychological concept or psychological damage that can be done, even in court, with juries with regards to blades, I don't feel comfortable putting myself in that position. It doesn't mean that using a trainer is going to put me in a better position. However, a trainer does allow me to use it, much like what Justin said, as a Kubaton, where I have something that I can hold on to, and I have the ability to take the tip of it and jam it into somebody's eye, throat, large muscle belly. I also,
because that's not going to fuck with your legal status.
But if you and I were in the exact same situation, and if we were to deploy like my trainer versus your knife, and let's say it had a similar sort of result where I was able to get away alive and you were able to get away alive, which one of us would be in a greater challenge legally to try to get out of than the other?
Me, because I'm going to call the police first.
Well,
honestly, statistically, whoever calls the police first is probably better off.
Well, you will also be in a position to deal with somebody who's flayed open. Whereas I will have somebody who might actually have some puncture wounds because I will do whatever the fuck I can to get this
puncture. I'll have more internal injury that will
absolutely
you'll have to use medical stuff.
Yeah.
You will have visual.
I will have lesser internal damage than you. And as long as I can get away.
Honestly, you probably would have just killed me because if you crack this on my dome, it's gonna leave an impression on my head, which is gonna fucking kill me.
And I promise you that if I have to deploy this, which is the trainer that I currently have in my right hand, if I have to deploy this in a way that the only thing I have available is your temple, and I feel that my life is threatened, I'm attacking your temple with it. Now, if I had a knife and the only thing available is your temple and I put it in your temple, I might actually pierce your brain, depending on how strong I can get that knife into your skull. Now, either situation, if you strike the temple just right, or if you pierce the temple, you can kill somebody. The thing is that if I just strike somebody versus piercing somebody's skull, which, not everybody has enough strength to do that. But then again, certain blades are fashioned in a way to easily get in there. And also your
you don't need a lot depending on how dense it is.
Exactly. The thing is, the person who has penetrated a skull with a piercing knife or, piercing weapon versus somebody who uses a trainer balisong, kind of like a Kubaton, the person who uses it as a Kubaton is going to have less friction in court. There's still going to be friction in court. You will still be in court, especially if the person does die due to your actions.
Oh, yeah.
However, I don't have a knife. It looks like a knife. It is clearly not a knife. And regardless of how much it is trying to demonize, I cannot cut somebody. I cannot.
A really good defense attorney can call it a knife.
A really good defense attorney can make anything really bad, including somebody.
That's why
including somebody who
the
walks
moral
their
of this
dog
story
and
is
leaves dog shit in your fucking yard because dog shit can carry parasites and even viruses, and that is a biohazard, even potentially a weaponized biohazard weapon. That you intentionally did because you knew that blah 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 blah. Now that seems extremely far-fetched. However, that has happened before. So take that.
No, I agree. And you know what? To counteract your bail song, which is a practice knife, which takes time to get out and open that thing up if you need it, or just use it as a Kubaton.
Although it does take a lot longer than your karambit.
Thank you for being honest.
Oh, I mean,
there's also
this is straight truth,
practice. Man. Yeah. There's also a practice karambit. Fox makes a practice one. I would never buy it. I love you, Fox.
No,
I'm
he
sorry.
would buy it. Just saying, Fox.
No, I would buy it. But instead, I'm poor and can't afford it. So there's actually a generic one by Angstar on Amazon. It's like $16. And it looks the exact same thing as the Fox Karambit. By the way, Fox, you need to sue them. It's just highly recommended. It's seriously an exact replica of the practice karambit from Fox,
which is probably really nowhere near as great a quality as Fox's practice karambit.
But it's a practice karambit. Like, it doesn't need to be that good. It still deploys the same way.
You're not doing
everything
really well to
the
try to get Fox to
sorry.
sponsor you.
Well, but Fox isn't sponsoring me yet.
Okay,
so
good.
When they do sponsor me, I'll say nothing but nice things about their practice one. But right now, this one, cheap Chinese knockoff, is honestly the same thing that David's talking about, and you can deploy it right away.
Right. And
it would work the same way. It just won't. Well, it might sink into the body depending on how hard you do.
And the thing is that the psychological effect that it might have on somebody else, might be kind of good. Because if I were to deploy this Balasang, this trainer, somebody who doesn't understand it might consider it a fucking knife. And that might...
But that could be bad too, because they might consider a fucking knife and legally say that their life was in danger and fuck you up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. But it's like, I would not deploy this unless I felt that my life was threatened. But that means that's a whole big thing. But the point being is that if I were to deploy this, somebody may not know the difference between a trainer and a fucking knife. And,
right.
That can cause issues itself. However, if this were to ever be, I almost said convicted, but taken from me, then it's clear it is not a knife. It is clear that I cannot cut anybody. I mean, maybe I could with the way that I would use it, but it would be a nasty fucking cut because you are not typically able to cut somebody with this. It is very hard to penetrate, to actually puncture anything with this kind of blade, because it's not a blade. It's just a piece of metal that sticks up. But the biggest, and what Justin was saying is the biggest reason why I use it is for a karambit purpose. I carry it with me because in all actuality, it's very much like a fidget toy for me. I practice this with both right and left-handed. I'm a left-handed individual, but I practice this with my right hand. I can't tell you how many times. So even though I do, justify carrying it because it's kind of like a fidget toy to kind of keep me focused while, fidgeting around with it, I do have the ability to deploy this in a self-defense situation, very much like a Kubotan or a small hand stick, which is what a Kubotan is, and a couple other types of weapons. But I'll tell you, if I need to sink this into your muscle belly, it's there. It is very much there.
I agree.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm actually kind of excited because we can do this one in parts.
Yeah, let's do this in parts.
I think we should just leave it at the knife for now.
All right. Let's do that.
I don't want to go on because we'll spend another
2 to 3 hours
on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's tons of more. But ladies and gentlemen, basically what we covered in a nutshell, we should put it in the title, is knives. And your best way to deploy them, and either your lethal ones or your less lethal ones. But remember, either way, regardless of what David says, it's going to probably be considered a knife in court.
Oh, it's gonna be considered a deadly weapon in court.
So
there.
It is what it is. But until our next part 2 on other weapons and self-defense, which is great because that's my fucking forte.
Yes, it is.
We'll say farewell.
All right.
And happy birthday to me.
Well, happy birthday, Justin. That does happen to be all for this episode of the Drunken Fist podcast. Show notes and hopefully videos and or photos of what Justin was talking about can be found at Drunken Fist.
Oh, not hopefully.
All right. Well,
100% will be out.
All right. Well, you will be able to find them at drunkenfistpodcast.com. And if you do not subscribe, what are you waiting for? Just do it. Subscribe and rate it. If you rate it, it helps other people to find it. And more importantly, we will read your review on the air. Even though I just said rate it, review it too. You could do that at Apple Podcasts. If you like to listen to it on Spotify, listen to it on Spotify, Stitcher. There's a bunch of different ways that you can subscribe to it. But again, definitely rate it and review it on Apple Podcasts, and we'll be.
And become a Patreon. Support us if you want to hear more.
Become a fan, because this show is made possible by you, the fans. And to learn more about that, you can go to drunkenfistpodcast.com/fans. And until we hit the mats again, happy birthday, Justin. And thanks for drinking with us.
Woo!
Prost.
Bye.